Welcome to episode 2 of Pinnacle FC. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you as this podcast is dedicated to cover the biggest leagues in European domestic football. Week 1 in the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A. They're behind us as we look forward to this week, and the Bundesliga joins the party. And we have some Bundesliga thoughts and potential future plays on this podcast this week. So week 1, Jake, can always be a little bit dicey. Entering a new season, a little bit of unknown as well. How did it work out on your end?
Very much exactly what you've said. Very tricky slate. We did touch upon last week the fact that the goal lines were kind of picked up where last season left off, and we kind of just hinted and questioned whether that was playing the over was a smart move, coming off the back of a very low score in Euros, and actually 7 out of the 10 games went under 2.5 goals. And I just wonder if, again, maybe last season was just a bit of an anomaly. It smashed all the records in terms of goal scoring. And the early signs, I know we can't say too much after 10 games, but the early signs are that perhaps might just be taking a little bit of a downturn in the goal front. So something to keep in mind. Again, we've got quite a few high goal lines that you could maybe look at targeting this weekend. But yeah, it was it's good to have it back. It didn't come back with the explosion that we kind of wanted, but you're always going to get that when you watch Man United play on a Friday night.
You had to get in the jab, didn't you? The craziest thing for me is it's not just the 7 unders, it was the 6 clean sheets as well. But certainly under, and you flagged this, under was the smart and inevitably the profitable play last week. For me, a little bit of a profit across the board. 2 wins, 2 losses, and a half win in the Premier League. Add the one prop that I recommended and did play, Erling Haaland to score a goal. Yes, at minus 103 on Pinnacle. Turned out to be a good weekend for me in the Premier League. And the rest of Europe split right down the middle. We were on Real Madrid, Mallorca on the unders. That ended up playing as well. A 1-1 both in La Liga and Serie A as well. So let's get to it. This week in the Premier League, all lines that we will be using for this podcast are courtesy of Pinnacle, Bet Smart, Bet Pinnacle. So let's get stuck in, and let's start off with the marquee, the feature match this week. It's the late game on Saturday. It's Aston Villa and Arsenal. 2 sides that finished in the top 4 last season, kind of picked up where they left off. It wasn't perfect, but 3 points for both. Villa with an away win, 2-1 at West Ham, and Arsenal a 2-0 home win at Wolves. In this one, there's no question, Arsenal the favorite heading into this game. It's hard to see really any weakness, maybe a little bit of depth issues that can be addressed before the window closed for Arsenal. But other than that, they look exceptionally strong. You can get Villa outright to win at home, plus 338, plus 295 for the draw, minus 125 if you want to back Arsenal on Pinnacle. The handicap is set at 0.75 and the total is set at 2.75. Aston Villa did the double against Arsenal last season. It's like a little bit of a Unai Emery revenge match, isn't it? And that's at least the way that it seemed last year. And really, it was that opening win right around the midpoint of the season when Villa beat Arsenal and City back-to-back that it really caught the attention of many. Are Villa in a position to do it again to Arsenal this season, or are the Gunners just far too strong? How are you looking at this game, Jake?
Yes, great question. My heart says, I want to see Aston Villa mix it with the big boys again, but my head just says Arsenal are going to be too strong. But as you said, the 2 head-to-heads last season, there wasn't much between the 2 teams at all. Villa just took the chances when they had them. 2 clean sheets as well in there. I just wonder if maybe there's the setup that Emery deploys when he plays against Arteta's Arsenal team is he just bamboozles them. They don't know how to break through, break them down. They don't know how to deal with the high press, the high line. Immediately when I saw the line for the goals at 2.75, I was looking at back in the under because Arsenal away from home last season were phenomenal defensively, and ultimately that's where I kind of started with this kind of bet. They racked up or conceded just 0.86 expected goals against per game, conceded just 13 goals in 19 away matches, which led the league unsurprisingly, and I think we're going to see more of the same. That Arsenal's foundations are so solid. The title challenge last season was built upon a strong defence and trying to, nick games 1, 2, 3 if things open up a little bit. And I think they'll show Villa plenty of respect. There's been a lot of ins and outs at Villa, but the starting 11 is still very good. The attack is dangerous. And I thought, interestingly, Arsenal away against the league's best teams last season, 6 of the 9 against the top 10 went under 2.5. So obviously, would see this bet win, and 4 of the 10 went under 1.5, highlighting just how low scoring these kind of games were. So I'm just going to back the under, minus 105. I could see this being a 1-0 either way, a 1-1. It's going to be a tight and cagey one.
It's exactly the same way as I'm looking at it. And for me, minus 105, under the goal line of 2.75, it's a good number for me. This fixture ended 1-0 last season. You said it. This is a lot about the way that I really see Arsenal playing this season. Just the way that they did last season. They're arguably even more sound defensively this year. You said it, 13 goals conceded on their away travels last year. And their expected goals against was 16.5. Like, it was the best in both categories. And you said it. Unai Emery knows this Arsenal side. He knows some of their limitations, a way that it can be contained at the very least in attack. And they're going to be up for it going back to Villa Park. Champions League football this season. I just think it's a tightly contested, low-scoring game. And with that little bit of insurance at the 2.75, if it ends up on 3 goals, which I can't really see it going that high, get half your bet back. I mean, that's just some added insurance, an added bonus here. But I really like the underplay, under 2.75 at minus 105. A reminder, hit the like button, subscribe, whether you're watching or listening, I should say, on Spotify or watching on YouTube. Elsewhere in the Premier League, what else is making your slate? What's on your board this weekend, Jake?
Well, not to be boring, but I'm going to be back in another unders in another of the 10 matches.
Winning bets are not boring at all.
That is true. It might come as a bit of a surprise, but Liverpool versus Brentford caught my eye as a high goal line that I think could fall a couple short. I made my notes yesterday. So we're recording this on Wednesday. I started making my notes on Tuesday. The line was at under 3.5. It's now moved to 3.75. So I'm getting even more in my favour in terms of goals. Slightly shorter price, obviously, but I'm going to take that. Minus 118 for under 3.75 goals at Anfield. And I think, again, it's just more to do with the style of Liverpool. Having watched them against Ipswich, they were... Arne Slot team in general, they play with more control than Jurgen Klopp's sides do. Jurgen Klopp's, as he described himself, heavy metal. It's end to end. Liverpool go and try and score 3 or 4 goals, and against Slot's team are just a lot more controlled in the way in which they play. You could see that in their build-up. You could see that with the way in which they blocked the middle of the pitch and just really did a great job in limiting, admittedly, an Ipswich team that will likely struggle, but. I think that we're going to see a lot more 2-0s and 2-1s and maybe 3-0s from Liverpool this season, as opposed to 5-1s and 6-1s and, the high kind of scores. And the other thing, we've got Brentford here. We've got a fully fit squad for the first time in almost, 9-10 months. Granted, we don't know if Ivan Toney's going to be playing, but I don't really think that's a problem. I like Vissa, I like Mbuemo, I like Sharda as well, causing problems on the counter-attack. But also, those players are really good at pressing. And frustrating back lines. And I think Brentford are going to be a really difficult task on Sunday. So the way I'm going to get them on board, I'm going to back the underline at 3.75. If you did want to, make a pro B's play, you're getting a 2-goal head start on the handicap, which again looks pretty large and a little bit insulting towards Brentford.
Well, it's that game at 3.75 in terms of the goal total, as well as City Ipswich Town. 2 games at 3.75. I couldn't go on to back either, at least when it comes to the over. The under looks the side to be on here. We know that City have gone out and absolutely played inferior sides off the park and put up some big goal totals. So I'll stay away from that one as well. I considered Brentford. I just want to stay a little bit away because I do think that there's some attacking punch in this Brentford side. How it all plays out at Anfield, I'm not sure. So it's a watch and brief for me. What else, if anything, are you looking at this week?
That was it for me in the Prem. They were the only 2 that stood out. I did have half an eye on Spurs Everton going over 3. I think Everton's defensive issues were highlighted very well by Brighton last week, and Spurs got into some great scoring positions on Monday, but didn't quite get over the line. So that was one that I had potentially highlighted. But yeah, it's just one of those games weeks where not too much stood out. And if we were in game week 6, I definitely would be looking at Brighton at plus 149. If we'd seen them for another 5 games and they were kind of putting on similar kind of performances, I think they'd beat Manchester United. But we can't learn too much off one game away at Everton, who could easily be, at the wrong end.
That's the thing. No Branthwaite, no Party. Look to see what his status is. A very important player for this Everton side. It was a disaster of an opener at Goodison Park. It was a nice little transition. You teed me up, because what's making my card this week is Manchester United a draw no bet at plus 104 at Brighton. Come on. Again, you said it. Like, we can't judge what Fabian Hurtzler's side is going to be when they're playing that Everton side the way they did. They gave Everton the ball in the first half. They weren't punished because there's not enough talent there. Then they really just caught them out in the second half when the pressure was on for Everton to expand a little bit and play at home. That's not going to happen with Manchester United. There's better talent in this Manchester United side. I just, at a plus number for a draw no bet, United at Brighton, a place where they beat them 2-0 last year. I'm salivating at this one, to be honest with you. Like, this United side, I thought they did well at Fulham. They weren't flashy or spectacular. It's another game that I'd look to maybe making a play on the unders as well in this game, as Xerxes not fully up the pace, and without Højlund, they just lack that focal point in their attack. But absolutely, United draw no bet at plus 104. I also like the team that they played against last week, Fulham, to beat Leicester City outright at minus 122. This number has shifted out a little bit. I'm just going to do the Jamie Vardy, because he's an absolute legend, that he's won a Premier League title and Spurs hasn't, because I think that Fulham can beat Leicester City 1-0 this week, and that wouldn't shock me. Fulham beat Leicester City both times they played in the 2022-2023 season. I think that Fulham are going to be okay. I mean, going to Old Trafford, it's not an easy place to go week 1 of the season. I think this line reflects the fact that Leicester City came away with a draw at home against Spurs, and Fulham lost to Manchester United. But I'll back Fulham outright on that. I also like whatever Palace West Ham play, you expect goals. I mean, this is a history. Head-to-head, Crystal Palace, no clean sheet in their last 19 against West Ham. West Ham, no clean sheet in their last 14. That means both teams to score has played in the last 14 meetings between these teams, and they played to over 2.5 in 8 of their last 10. And both teams, on top of it all, played to 2-1 losses last week. West Ham had an expected goals of 2.67 against Aston Villa, and Palace 1.38 against Brentford. So I'm going both teams to score at over 2.5 at plus 118. This is the proverbial layup based upon history. We'll see if history plays out to start the 2024-2025 season. And finally, how can you back anything when it comes to Chelsea right now? Like, Enzo Maresca is already under some pressure. He's saying that he's only training with 21 players. The rest of them are being cast off. So what's happened with Raheem Sterling and others? Tosin signs with Chelsea, and then he's not even in European squads, not even available. Like, what's going on here? He went to Chelsea on a free. I just look at the entire situation as being a mess, and I don't think Wolves are a bad team, to be honest with you. I think there were 2 goals that they conceded against Arsenal that they like back. Wolves on the handicap at plus 0.75 against Chelsea at minus 107. Sign me up for that as well. Wolves have beat Chelsea 3 times in a row, 1-0 in the 2022-2023 season, and 2-1 at home and 4-2 away last season. So let's keep that trend going. I think Wolves under Gary O'Neill are a very tough team to play against stylistically. I think they have some athleticism to match up with the athleticism, the 1+ with Caicedo and Lavia in the Chelsea midfield. So I think that game could very well end in a draw, and get on side with Wolves on the handicap. Like, Chelsea right now, fade away, Jake. Like, that's the only way that I can approach them.
Yeah, I don't mind that shout at all, especially because Chelsea are in action on Thursday in a Europa Conference League playoff against Swiss side Servette. And from everything that we've heard over here, Maresca is going to play a very similar squad to the one that started the weekend. So could be a potentially, obviously they've got a million players to choose from, but it could be a weaker side come at the weekend with Wolves. So yeah, I don't mind that play at all. And Wolves, they have a good account of themselves at the Emirates. I mean,
They
there's
did.
only a good header and a wonder goal from Saka really that was the difference. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. Getting nice head start.
Cunha came off the bench in that game as well. I mean, Guedes didn't play in that game. Sarabi off the bench. So there are some players in this Wolves side, maybe one or two players short, but I think they'll be okay.
Or if
Let's
they're any good,
switch.
they might get signed by Chelsea.
Right. Could
A la
do. I
Pedro
mean,
Neto.
Neto, exactly. Let's shift gears to the Bundesliga. And last season was it a case of the Harry Kane jinx, going to a new club and just simply not winning the league? It could be, but the story was never losing. It was Bayer Leverkusen going on, didn't lose a game on the domestic season and went on to win the Bundesliga. It was a surprise win last year. And looking at the future markets, they think it's going to go back to business or usual business, the way that things played out the 11 seasons prior with Bayern Munich going on to win it. In the Bundesliga, the future place is Bayern Munich at minus 180, and Leverkusen pushed a little bit out at plus 241. Once again, that is despite going 41 unbeaten domestically. They haven't lost their top players as of yet in the transfer window, and they've signed some decent players as well. Garcia from Girona, Terrier, among others. Like, they look like a team with a really good manager that can be right in the mix again. Teams like Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig a little bit further out when you look at the futures on Pinnacle. What do you make of the futures market here, Jake? Like, is there a play to be made on a side not named Bayern Munich?
Oh yeah, I mean, like you just said there, the reigning champions. I think they should be a little bit closer in the market to
Me
Bayern. I
too.
think they are the value play. I mean, Bayern Munich have got a star-studded 11, star-studded squad, but they've got a manager in charge who has just been relegated from the Premier League. Not quite sure how you fail upwards like that. That is some serious work. But to be fair, he did a great job in the Championship. But I'm going to be fascinated to watch Bayern in their style because we know Company likes to play possession football. Let's play out from the back. Bundesliga is one of the most high-pressing leagues in the world, and a very organised press. His Burnley team couldn't deal with that, admittedly with lesser players than what Bayern Munich have, but they couldn't deal with that in the Premier League. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they actually get on against good sides that are very well organised and know what they're doing in that press. So yeah, I think the continuity that Leverkusen have with the manager, obviously they've lost a couple of players. They could still lose a few more, but something tells me that they are likely to spend that very wisely if they get more transfer fees in. Look to have done good business already. I think the best piece of business is keeping Alonso, really, keeping the manager who masterminded the whole thing and got them playing a certain way. And whatever they keep scoring 90th minute equalisers and winners, they're very difficult to back against. And I'm referring to the German Super Cup, obviously, last week, where they were trailing with 10 men. In the 89th minute, they scored an equaliser and then went on to lift the trophy. That's just the Leverkusen way. And yeah, I like that. I think the prices should be a little bit closer together. A little bit disrespectful to the reigning champs. And yeah, of the rest, Dortmund, again, new rookie manager in charge, Nuri Sahin. Leipzig lost a couple of key players. Stuttgart have been gutted, lost all their better players. So
Yeah.
it does look to be a two-horse race, but I definitely would be leaning towards Leverkusen as the value.
Yeah, I'm making a full unit play on Bayer Leverkusen to go on and win back to back. Too many questions for me. I know they signed Paulinho. I know they brought in some decent players to Bayern Munich,
But
but let's see. Is Eric Dyer
does
still
Paulinho
playing
fit
every week?
into
Into their style,
like
I don't know. Like,
yeah?
they don't like Goretzka, and I guess Kimmich's going to shift back in, but I don't know. I have too many questions there. I'll take Xabi Alonso as my manager up against Vincent Company any day, especially when a lot will be said about what happens in the remaining time that the window's open. But still, you mentioned at the Super Cup, like Leverkusen still just bringing players back into their team that played their, the European championships, and they've really easing players back into business. So I have no problem. It's going to be a big season for Leverkusen. I want to see if this, the second act is as good as the first because it was something to watch last year. Dortmund's the only other side I'd consider making a play at plus 1,009. I know that they lost some players, but the players that they brought in up top in terms of Girassi and Bayer, like they combined for 44 goals in the Bundesliga last season. And they brought in some decent enough players around the team. Jan Couto had a really good season at Girona last year. Valdemar Anton, a solid center back, probably a little bit of an upgrade to Mats Hummels, who's had a wonderful career but maybe lacks some mobility. Perhaps even a better manager in Sahin as well that actually knows the club. So that's as far as I'd go to a 3-horse race, and we'll see. And Pascal Gross, like, there's a lot of experience in that midfield. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of athleticism, but a lot of experience in that midfield. Yeah, maybe.
He might be the best signing of the lot. Gelling it all together.
And that's for a lot of these reasons. In terms of the fixtures this weekend in the Bundesliga, I'm making a pro Dortmund play. I'm going to place a full unit bet on Dortmund to win at home over Frankfurt, as well as both teams to score in that game. So combined Dortmund win and both teams to score at plus 195. I like the signings. I think they're deep. Dortmund were only the 5th best side last year in the Bundesliga. They really struggled at times. But you have to remember, they were the best side the season before in 22-23, 14-2-1, 55 goals scored and 17 against. Even if they meet somewhere in the middle, they're going to have a much better season than they did last year. Frankfurt, mid-table in terms of expected points last year. What I also like is just the head-to-head between these teams. Dortmund won 3-1 at home last year. There was also a 3-3 draw. If you look at it, they've gone over 2.5 in their last 7 meetings against one another, and both teams to score have played in 7 of 8. Like, there's some big score lines, 5-2, 3-2. There's goals in this fixture, so I don't even mind making a play on the over in this game this weekend as well. I might actually combine or add that as a completely separate play to the Dortmund win and both teams to score at plus 195. It's the fixture that I like the most this weekend in terms of the fixtures in the Bundesliga. I was also tempted at making a play St. Pauli in the Bundesliga at home against Heidenheim, a team that lost a couple of their key players this year. But St. Pauli have lost their manager. They brought in another manager in Alexander Blessin with experience in the Bundesliga. He did really well at Union Saint-Gilloise last season in Belgium. He won the manager of the year, won the regular season, won the cup, just didn't win the playoffs there. But St. Pauli, with that atmosphere at home this weekend, I think it's going to be absolutely jumping at plus 114 against a lower tier Heidenheim side who somehow qualified for Europe. I just don't think that they're going to be able to back that up based on the personnel back-to-back. But those are the 2 games that I'm looking at. Anything catch your eye, Jake, or do you want to move on to La Liga?
Yeah, let's move on to La Liga.
Okay. Remember, all these lines that we're dealing with are on Pinnacle, the home of smart betting. La Liga, a little bit of a mixed bag last week, and some big dogs, even in Serie A, failing to get over the line, settling for draws. One of those sides was AC Milan. We had. It's going to go into a play that I'm going to make in La Liga this weekend. Sociedad lost at Valladolid, or actually Vallecano last weekend. It was just a strange weekend, but in both La Liga and Serie A. Let's start off with Spanish top flight. Are there any games that are making your slate this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to go Real Madrid versus Valladolid, and I'm backing Real Madrid to win to 0, which is around minus 112. It's partly due to Madrid's incredible home defence. Obviously, they're still working out a few kinks with all the attacking firepower they've got in the team now, trying to figure out how to tighten up. But I think Valladolid
and all left. And by the way, left-sided attacking talent. It's like the field is shifted.
That's fine. You've got Danny Carvajal. He can do all that himself. But yeah, they're going to have to work on that quite a lot. But I don't think Valladolid are a team that are going to cause too many problems, especially on the road. I mean, last season in La Liga 2, they scored just 18 times in 21 away games. And yeah, they won their opener against Espanyol, but they created just 0.8 expected goals. Real Madrid, I touched on their home record last year. They conceded just 9 goals in 19 home games. And yeah, I fully expect them to dominate from start to finish. And I think there are probably a few more dangerous teams that could go to the Bernabeu and cause a few problems for Real Madrid this season, but I don't think Valladolid are one of them. So win to nil, -112.
Yeah, the bottom of La Liga, I think it might be a little bit of a field day for the top sides. The one game that needs market correction, and I think it will, had a kickoff. It's already started to slide that way. I'm making a play Sociedad to win at Espanyol at +115. Like, Espanyol lost to Valladolid, and for some reason, like, the price is too short for me. They have the longest future odds on Pinnacle to win La Liga at 104,478. I mean, they lost to Valladolid, who I don't think are a good team at all on the weekend. And you said it, they had the second worst expected goals on the weekend. Sociedad, yes, lost to Vallecano, but Zubamendi didn't start. Some key players are still being brought back into the team. I think they're going to be a much better outfit. They're presumably a top 5 team in La Liga this season. So the fact that they lost last weekend has played into this line. It's already shifted out. It started at like +130, I believe. I saw it at +120 on Tuesday night. It's already come down to +115. So I fully expect this number to be hit, because Espanyol could be the worst side in La Liga. So I'm going to bet against them, even though they're playing at home this weekend. Sociedad +115. That's all I have in La Liga. Is that all that you have? We can shift it to...
I wanted to touch on the big Madrid derby, Getafe versus Rayo, which we don't have prices up just yet for bookings, but keep an eye on Pinnacle, because this is a red-hot derby. Last season, there were 10 yellows at Rayo, 9 yellows and 3 reds at Getafe. Wow. Season before, 8 yellows and a red at Getafe, 5 yellows at Rayo. The season before that, 7 yellows at Getafe and 13 yellows at Rayo. So if you're getting a booking line at around 6.5, I think that's worth a play. I mean, we don't know what the referee appointment is just yet. They don't release the referee details until closer to kickoff. But either way, there's some real bad blood here between these two teams. And the main Madrid derby, Real Atletico, obviously takes all the headlines. And I think these two have made this even more of a contested rivalry over the last few years.
All right, let's shift things finally to Serie A. Weird weekend. Inter drew. AC Milan drew. Bologna ended up drawing. Like, a lot of decent sides ended up not coming away with the full 3 points last weekend. Some teams did. Atalanta were great. Juventus, both playing against weaker competition. Has anything caught your eye for this weekend in Serie A?
Yeah, you didn't talk. You mentioned there about teams that drew, good teams that drew, but you didn't talk about one good team that got absolutely smashed to smithereens, which was Napoli, who went to Verona, who are one of the favourites for relegation, and got hammered 3-0 in Antonio Conte's first game in charge. They actually deserved to lose that as well. All the XG data pointed towards Verona creating the better chances. And yeah, Bologna, you said they drew 1-1 with Udinese. They were very unfortunate to not get 3 points. He racked up over 3 expected goals, so they did nearly everything they could to deserve the win there. Just couldn't put the ball in the net. And yeah, as I said last week, Bologna, they might have been gutted in terms of the players that have left, but I feel like they're replaced pretty well. And yeah, they've lost Thiago Motta, but I rate Vincenzo Italiano as a manager. And I'm looking at the prices, and we're getting Bologna with a half a goal start at -103, and I think that's a really good play. Just to reel off the record against top half last season, Bologna overall won 9, drew 6, lost just 3 against top half teams in Serie A last season. And away from home, they won 4, drew 4, and lost once. So against the better teams, it really did suit their style. And I think there's a decent continuation between the two regimes in terms of style. And Napoli, for whatever reason, they're just not clicking at the moment. And Conte, he's never happy at the best of times, but he is very unhappy right now. He's complaining about not getting signings. I think he must have forgotten about the £30 million centre-half that he just bought in. But either way, I'm taking Bologna on the handicap to go to Napoli and get a result.
They'll be adding some muscle. Lukaku will probably land there. You need to go to Manchester United and sign Scott McTominay. Then there'll be a team that will really be up for a fist fight.
Billy Gilmore. Get Billy Gilmore in as well.
Sure.
He's rumoured. But yeah, if Lukaku goes in there, what is Osimhen going to play up front with him?
Well, Osimhen's on his way out, presumably. Exactly where, your guess is as good as mine.
Probably
Who has
Chelsea.
100 million to spend? Probably Whenever you need a team for a player to land on, it's got to be Chelsea, isn't it?
Yeah, just give Todd Bowley a ring. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. The bowling ball, just knocking down all the pins. Two quick plays for me. I'm going back to the AC Milan to win at Parma. The handicap's at 0.75 at minus 103. AC Milan drew last week. It was 2-2 against Torino. They had 26 shots in that game and an XG of 2.1. I thought they were the better side. By the way, didn't start Morata, Renders, Hernandez. Like this team, I just think they're going to be good. Against Parma, they haven't lost in 8, and Parma haven't kept a clean sheet in 16 in the head-to-head. So Milan on the handicap this week. And then Torino hosting Atalanta this weekend. This is one of the things that caught my eye. The total is set at 2.25 for this game. I'm taking the over in this one at minus 114. Torino drew 2-2. Atalanta won 4-0. They've gone over 2.5 in their last 10 meetings, and it's been like goal palooza when these two teams meet as well. That's just too low for me. If it ends in a 1-1, a 2-0, then you get half your bet back. You get that little bit of insurance there. So what was it with that reaction there? Like both these teams skew to the over. I can't believe it's that low, to be honest.
That was my reaction. Yeah, I completely missed that when I was scanning the markets. I'm just going to go make a play now on that because every time Atalanta are involved in the game, the line should be set at a minimum 2.5. Minimum. Because they can cover that line themselves every single time they play.
No kidding. You scored a brace, and that for me might be the line that stands out most of all of them this weekend across European domestic football. So that's it for this edition of Pinnacle FC. It's really great bringing in some Bundesliga into the action this week. Let us know your thoughts and your plays as well. Get involved in the chats where applicable. Like, subscribe. We got a busy season ahead. Trusted for over 25 years. All the lines provided by Pinnacle. Good stuff, Jake. We'll do this all again next week, pal.
Look forward to it. Best of luck this week.
On behalf of the Wizard of Oz, I am Wheels, and this has been Pinnacle FC.